Hello and welcome back to What the Frick podcast. Welcome to the very special holiday edition. This will actually be the last podcast of 2023. I can't believe I've been doing this for over a year now. I remember last year's episode was sort of centered around New Year's Eve and revelations I had had that year. So gonna be doing something similar this year, but with Christmas around the corner, I thought I would just sort of go over some gift ideas that I had for myself, but that I also just thought of as general. If any of you are still in need of getting someone a gift, maybe this will spark an idea for you. Although it's very close to Christmas, and Hanukkah has already happened, so well, I don't know what to say, but here's some ideas, I guess. So the number one thing that I put on my Christmas list, you guys guessed it, Taylor Swift tickets. And then I wrote literally anywhere because it wouldn't matter where they were. I would find a way to get myself there. I will say that most people are not taking this item seriously because I have seen her 3 times in person and her movie is now out. But that's irrelevant, okay? I still want to go. Another good thing I think to get people are shoes. This sounds weird, and like when you're a kid, you're like, I don't want shoes, but I become very big into shoes, sneakers specifically. In the world of the NBA, Nike's very big. The Nike Dunks, the low dunks, the high dunks, and Jordans. So I have that on my list. I really like pink. Been very into pink ever since Barbie came out. So I just think they're kind of fun, and it's not like a shoe that I need, obviously, and it's not something that I would even be wearing on an everyday basis, but it's just kind of a fun little thing to have in your closet, and it's not something that I would normally buy myself. So having someone else get it just as like a fun little unique thing, I think is a cool little gift idea. I think gift cards are always a good idea, and to some people they don't like this because you're just kind of giving somebody money. But you know what? Sometimes that's okay. And like for me, I love getting a good Sephora gift card because there's just so many things you can buy from the store, and I don't always know what I want at the time. And so to write down this very specific makeup brand or eyeshadow palette just might be kind of hard for other people. So to just give me the gift card and then I can go get it myself and kind of peruse through the store is always fun. So I know Sephora's big, Apple gift cards are big this time of year. So I'm here to redeem the gift card debate. I think they can be helpful and they can be fun. If it's just like a Visa gift card, I see how that can be kind of tacky, but I think these more specified stores, it's okay. It's okay. I think for women specifically, jewelry can be a big thing. I've never been someone that's that into jewelry myself, but I've been trying to get more into it over these past few years. I really like the brand Kendra Scott. It's not super expensive. It's also not super cheap. It's pretty affordable, and their stuff is just really cute. A lot of different stuff, and they have a lot of sales this time of year. I've been trying to get more into like layered necklaces. I just bought myself a ring from there a few weeks ago. Just been trying to like expand my accessories. So I think if you know someone that really enjoys jewelry, this is a great option if you're not trying to, spend hundreds of dollars. And then also if you know someone that's maybe not quite into it, but you know that they really like wearing maybe only necklaces or only bracelets or something like that, you could get them something simple from that store that you know that they'll like. Something else that can be fun, I think, is getting someone like an activity. I think workout classes have become very big nowadays. So yoga classes are something that I really enjoy. I already pay for a Pilates membership, which is pretty expensive, but I had this free class thing a while ago where I could take some yoga classes and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't want to be paying for another membership when I'm already spending all this other money on this other workout class. So that was something that I asked someone, like, hey, I really enjoy this activity, and I think sometimes activities and experiences can be more beneficial than getting somebody shoes or, a piece of fancy jewelry. Like, this is something that I can go and do to better myself, better my health. It's really just also enjoyable, and it's about the same amount of money as you would maybe spend on, that piece of jewelry or something like that. So I think those can be fun things to ask for as well. Or if you know someone that's very into these types of things, you could just go and buy them like a class pack. A lot of these places do have, packages you can get. This next item I put on my list more so for my siblings because we are all getting each other gifts. And I know that they're not trying to spend a hefty amount of money on me, and neither am I for them. So I'm very into like anything that can hold liquid. So hydro flasks, Yetis. I recently started to think about maybe purchasing a Stanley, as basic as they are. Like they're cute and they can hold a lot. So I kind of told them like, hey, I could use like a new hydro flask because the one I currently have is super beat up and just old. And it's just kind of nice to have like a new water bottle. And I'm someone that really only likes to drink out of water bottles or tumblers or stuff like that. Like, I'm hardly ever using a glass cup unless I'm like at a restaurant. So those can be fun. You can also like customize them if you really want to. So I think that's a great gift idea as well. The last big ticket item I had on my list was a tote bag from Base, which is Shay Mitchell's company. I've never really been into these, but they've become really popular over the last few years. And as someone who is carrying a laptop constantly, I usually am just putting it into my camera bag or my travel backpack that I also have from Base. But I really kind of wanted like a little tote bag that I can just like carry around if I want to like go to my parents' house and maybe work from there. Or I want to bring like a little quick change of clothes after I'm at some random event, or I just like don't really feel like carrying my stuff in a backpack. I had this like cute little tote bag that I can just kind of bring around like as like a big purse. So that was my last big ticket item, and I'm excited because I actually have a lot of like tote bags I've gotten from bachelorette parties, but they're like all falling apart because I use them so much. So looking forward to hopefully getting this nicer tote bag that I can use every day. And then as for these like smaller little items, I put like really random things. I'm not expecting to get all of this stuff on my list. It's really just like a list I made that I could send to my parents. Were always like, oh, like, what do you want me to tell your aunt to get you or your uncle? And I'm like, I don't know. So I just kind of like made this list and was like, here, like, here's stuff I like, go off of it type of thing. But very into skincare lately, so I wrote some down, some of the things that I get skincare wise. They're pretty cheap. I think max like $15, but I was like, hey, it's good to be stocked up. Random stuff I really like. You see on TikTok, it's those shirts where girls will like put their faces on a shirt with their name on it and give it to their boyfriend. I want one of those, but I want it to have my dog's faces on them because I don't have a boyfriend. And why would I get some random guy? I want to put the loves of my life on a shirt. So I asked for that. I'm not sure if I'll get it. It's kind of silly. But we'll see that. Oh, I found these cute wine glasses that had like I want to say skyline, but like the equivalent to like a skyline landscape line of the school, like a very prominent part of the school that like anyone that went there would recognize. So I found those and I put those on my list. I thought that was kind of a cute idea. And then I've just been very into like silk lately. I've been very into wearing like silk scrunchies in my hair at night and like silk pillowcases for my face. So just again, like more of that self-care type items. So those are some of the things that I had on my list. But I think in general, like I have friends who are asking for more like appliance type things because they like have a whole house and they want these appliances that they don't really want to buy themselves, but they're like, hey, it'd be cool if someone else bought me this type of thing. I think it also depends heavily on like what stage of life you're in. For example, my brother is literally 22 years old, so he's actually a very bad example of this, but he has a house with his girlfriend that they rent out, and he's asking for like very, what's the word, like functional things, like a knife set and like a bathrobe and stuff like that. Whereas my list is more like, oh, I want these hot pink dunks. I want these like this like luxury tote bag, like stuff that's not really like a need for my life, but I just think would be fun to have. I also have this mindset of anything that I really need for myself, I buy. Like if I really needed something that was gonna help make my life better, I would probably just buy it. So my list is sort of more based on things that I don't need but would be just like kind of cool and fun to have. So whereas my brother's list was more like, hey, I could really use this knife sharpening set. And I'm like, you're 22 years old. Like, shouldn't you be asking for like an Xbox or something? I don't know. Very strange. But yeah, I think if you're shopping for your siblings versus your parents versus maybe a significant other or a family member, I think it's important to think about like what life stage they're in, and like, are they someone that's looking for more essential items like a cooking appliance or maybe a really nice vacuum, or are they someone that's looking for those more fun and unique items that would just sort of add a little bit of spark and joy into their life? So it's very hard thinking of presents. Very, very, very hard. I spent a good amount of money this year actually on people, which I don't usually do because I haven't had the means to in past years, but I actually wanted to take this year and like set aside money and be like, okay, like I'm gonna get everyone something, and I want it to have like some sort of meaning to it. So I'm happy I did that. All right, and then lastly, heading into the new year, just sort of going over, I'm like, what are some things I've learned this year? Um, I guess kind of following my Thanksgiving episode, but I learned that it's okay to put yourself first and it's okay to be selfish at times. Where, especially if you're in like my age range, like this is sort of the time in our lives to be selfish. This is the time to sort of figure out what we want and what we want to do. I was stuck in a job that I pretty much hated, enjoyed the actual like job of it, but the environment I was in, the people I was around were not it for me. And I stayed in that job way longer than I should have because I was afraid of what my family would think, what my friends would think, because there's this stigma, like, why would you quit a job when you don't have another job? Like, people will usually wait until they have something sort of lined up so that they're not, poor. But I had a very interesting situation where I had other side gigs and jobs lined up. So me quitting that job and being able to tell people like, hey, I'm not going to another full-time job. I'm really just quitting this job because I don't like it here. And it's funny because I was so nervous of what my coworkers would say, and they were all like, oh, where are you going? Where are you going? And I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm just leaving. And they were like, respect. Because they also didn't like it there, but they were, kind of in that same position, like, I gotta stick it out. So that's something I learned, that it's okay to like put yourself first in that situation. I'm not saying just go and quit your job because you hate it. You obviously have to have like the financial savings and, lifestyle to uphold what you're doing. But for me, it worked out. I think the other main thing I learned this year was just how nice it is to really put friends and family as a priority. And I know so many people say that they have these views, but for a long time, like, I was so focused on all my jobs, and because I was so busy doing all these things, that I wasn't seeing my friends very much. I would see my immediate family because they live so close, but it felt like, oh, I need to go over there, I need to see them. Like, it didn't feel like an enjoyable thing, more like, oh, I just need to go do this. but I was so focused on my work and like other things that it was sort of slipping my mind in a way. And I guess going back to quitting that job sort of opened up my time a little bit more. But like recently I called a friend and I was like, hey, I haven't seen you in like 4 years. What's going on? Like, we need to plan something. And so I bought a ticket and I went out and I saw him. I went out and I saw my grandparents, who I don't see very often, and just like literally did nothing with them except hang out and talk. And it was like such a nice time. And I'm trying to prioritize these types of things more so than the more like exquisite luxury things, like how I went to Europe earlier this year. So incredible, amazing trip. Will never ever regret it. But I have this mindset sometimes of like, oh, I want to do something like that, like go on this crazy cool vacation. Or it's like I could use some of that money to stay in the States and maybe just go see someone I haven't seen in a really long time that's important to me. So I think moving forward, I'm going to try to prioritize in that way, where I know I really enjoy those cool, crazy trips, but I also really enjoy just being with people that I care about, and sort of finding a balance between the two, because I don't think you should have to give one up for the other, but, just find that good balance. Well, I'm going to wrap this episode up here. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm having a friend come into town to spend New Year's with me. She's the same friend that was on the podcast a long time ago. And then I've been to 2 Taylor Swift concerts with her. And we also went to Europe together for part of my trip. So I'm very excited to see her. We're not going to be doing any crazy partying. We're just going to be going to some cool bars and just sort of catching up, like I said, and just enjoying getting to hang out. So I will see you guys in 2024. That's so crazy to say. This year was like a whirlwind. I feel like looking back on where I was in January versus where I am now, I'm like 2 different people. The year felt fast, but also not very fast in a way. That's why I'm like, okay, I feel so good now. But like, who will I be a year from now when it's like almost 2025? I hope you guys have an amazing holiday season, and please, 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 please stay safe on New Year's Eve and have fun, and just, I'm like a mom here, make good choices. But I'm very excited for the new year and just to see where this podcast goes, what more comes out of my mouth, and I'm so looking forward to it. So with that, I will see you guys next year. Bye.